Can it even be fathomable better without Alexander Isak?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Alexander Isak's one of the best strikers in the world. They lost him, and obviously they've done well, I think, in getting Voltemada in there, and they can still be a really competitive side. And I like what he's about, Voltemada. He reminds me a little bit of what Harry Kane is like when he gets into pockets. He's link up. He's not just a goal scorer. He can play as well, and he's got great feet for a big man. So, look, I like what he's about, but he's not Alexander Isak.
If you liken him to Kane, I mean, that is high praise.
Yeah, that's high praise, but he's not Harry Kane. That's high praise, of course.
His style of play.
Yeah, but his style of play, the way he likes to get on the ball, his link-up play is good. For someone who's so tall, normally you think, as Eddie Howe says, you want to get him in the box, you want to get him, his crosses are going to be important for him. But he can play, I mean, he can link up. But Alexander Isak was an unbelievable football player, and he's going to go to Liverpool and do incredible things. So to say they're going to be better, come on.
Yeah, Craig.
I like Elanga, by the way. I think Elanga's been a great signing for them.
He was brilliant at
Forest. Really good
Craig
player.
Craig's 100% stronger without Isak. Voltemada's fitting in well, 3 goals in 6 games, hold-up play, touches and passing.
Every Newcastle fan's going to say that, aren't they? Because they're absolutely devastated that they lost the best player they've seen since Alan Shearer. Do they're going to be devastated. They lost Alexander Isak. They've done well. They've brought in a good player. But, you can't sit here and tell me that Newcastle are a better team without Alexander Isak. Come on. What planet are we living on?
Well, the Bayern executive, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, will agree with you, because he says on Voltemada, Newcastle were, his quote, idiots for paying £69 million for him.
Well, no, I disagree with that. For a going rate for a top European striker now is around 60, 70 million. 100 million you've got to pay now for, one that's guaranteed. Voltemada for £69 million, I think he's going to be a really good business. He's shown already that he's a good player. He can score goals. He's settled in. I think he suits the Premier League, his style of play. So I think he's perfect for Newcastle. I don't think he's Alexander Isak standard, and I don't think he can be, because they're different players. But I love what he's showing, and I think he's a really good player. So to say they're idiots for spending that sort of money, well, he scored goals already.
The Premier League do tend to, according to everyone else in Europe, overpay for players anyway.
Yeah,
by the way, we're asking the fans this morning in the poll which striker is looking the best out of Voltemada, Gyökeres and Sesko. Just because they cost kind of similar amounts of money is why we've chosen those 3.
Where did you do this poll? Did you send it? Did you send it out in Newcastle?
Are you suggesting that? Are you suggesting that it's another hijacked poll this time? No, well, it's always Arsenal fans who get accused of hijacking polls. That's Gyökeres is second on there, but 66 for Voltemada, 24 for Gyökeres and 10% for Sesko. With the Sesko one is the caveat that it's taking him a while to actually get into the side. He has got off the mark now. Yeah,
and it doesn't help that he's playing in a really poor Manchester United side. Voltemada and Gyökeres have gone to football teams who are in a good state and look like they're going to be, firing on all fronts. Manchester United are awful, so it's tough for Sesko because he's gone into a side who are struggling with no confidence, and the manager doesn't know what he's doing. So I think Sesko can become, a really good player in the Premier League, but it's clear and obvious right now who the best 2 are that have come in so far, Voltemada and... I think Gyökeres, though, for me, look, Gyökeres for me is exactly what Arsenal needed. They needed a front man, they needed a target man. They needed someone who was going to, change the way that they attack. And that's what they've brought in. So, look, Voltemada's been a really good buy, but Gyökeres is what Arsenal needed.
Well, let's open this debate up and speak to a Newcastle United fan, Ben Johnson. Right, Ben, let's start with Voltemada. Did Newcastle look like idiots for signing him? Because Karl-Heinz Rummenigge suggested that you were.
I think that's a really disrespectful comment to Newcastle United, lads. Like you said before, 70 million, it's the going rate. If in a few years' time Voltemada's come in and he's taken the Premier League by storm, it's going to look like peanuts. You've got to take the risk in this day and age in football. And like you said, it's the going rate. I don't think it was overpriced. And from what we've seen so far, it looks absolutely fantastic bit of business from the team.
We've been asking the viewers whether they'd prefer, well, who's been the best signing out of Voldemort, Gyökeres and Sesko. But, of course, you were in for Ekitike and you used to have Isak. So Voldemort, Isak or Ekitike for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, Ekitike, he looks the business. I've been really impressed with his start. Pains me to say it a little bit. But he looks a real player. Isak, slow start. But at the end of the day, we can't really judge these players until the end of the season and beyond. You know, it's not just 8 games and we're kind of going to give an overview of how they've done since they signed. Yes, Isak's had a slow start. He's a great player. Ekitike is, you know, he's come in, he's done the business, he's scored a few already. But so has Voldemort. So I think, like I say, the proof will be in the pudding at the end of the season. And we can, you know, have a good debate about it then. But I've been impressed, very impressed. His hold-up play looks excellent. His link-up play looks excellent. Yeah, and he just looks like a real player to me.
I like what Newcastle are about, you know. I think, you know, if you look at the way they play, I think they're the most exciting team to watch in the Premier League right now. You know, the football that they play is brilliant, but they've also got that sort of, you know, you can have a bit of a nightmare at the back or you can concede goals. But I just love their attitude. I love the mentality that they want to go and play football. They want to go out there with passion and the way they approach games. You know, what is the aim for Newcastle this season?
Yeah, I like to think it's to maybe win another trophy. You know, we've set the standard last season. First trophy in 70 years. And you know, it's kind of set the bar, Jamie. It's kind of raised our hopes as to what we can achieve up here. Eddie Howe's done brilliantly since he come in. But, you know, I think it's going to be a long time until we win the Premier League. You know, that's probably the ideal dream. And we haven't been able to do that. PSR restrictions have made it so that we can't spend the likes of Chelsea and Man City did when they got their takeovers. So we're having to do it a different way. But you know, I don't know. I feel
why does
like
no one ever come in? Why does no one ever come in for Eddie Howe? It's always a bit baffling because since he's been at Newcastle, the Chelsea jobs become available, Manchester United, Liverpool, Tottenham, all these clubs have come. England job came available, yet no one appears to have even gone in for Eddie Howe. Why is that? Because he seems like an obvious choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question and it's a good debate. I mean, from what I believe, I think England were sniffing around. I'm not sure if Howe kind of turned down the advances, so they didn't pursue it any further. But, you know, he's got a big contract. He signed a contract extension not too long ago. He's on great money. And ultimately, I believe he likes it here. It's one of them things like, you know, it's a risk if he leaves his job and he goes somewhere else. It's a risk. Here he's got the support of the owners, the backing of the players. There's a great team spirit, and you don't get that everywhere else. You know, so he's probably thinking, I'm onto a good thing here. Yeah. We are progressing season on season, and we are, although it's not as fast as we would have liked. So yeah, I feel like he's happy here, and long may it continue.
If Man United did really come in for him, though, if Man United did want him properly, he'd leave.
I disagree on that one. Maybe if it was 1999, I think he'd probably he'd be driving himself down there as fast as he could. But you know, things move on in football, and that's a good point, Jamie. You know, people talk about Man United, and yes, they're still a massive club, but are they a well-run club? I don't think they are, and I think Amarim's on borrowed time at the minute, and so they probably will be looking. But you know, there's a lot of issues behind the scenes there. A lot of changes have been made, cutbacks, etc., and the kind of ethos of the club. Here we haven't got that. You know, we've kind of built from the depths of Mike Ashley, from the despair what we went through there, and we've got this real feel-good factor now around the club. And I just don't think it's as black and white. Excuse the pun. If he. You know, to say that he would automatically sign for Man United should they make a move. I just don't see it at the minute.
He does seem to have more power than other managers at big clubs in the Premier League. Yeah, well, he's earned it. 6 points from 6 games in the Premier League. You've had a bit of bad luck in that spell as well. But how big is this game at home to Nottingham Forest on Sunday?
Yeah, it's massive. Really, really big. I mean, we have had a slow start to the season. Obviously, you're losing Isak. Baltimore coming in. Last night was the first time that we saw the front three of Ilanga, Gordon and Baltimore, and they looked impressive. But that was the first time we've seen it. So it has been a slow start. You know, it's going to take time for us to link up and kind of get that know-how of how each player is going to play and understanding. But it's a massive game. We haven't had a good start. You know, we need the points on the board. You look at the gap already between the top four and where we are. You know, look at where Sunderland that can't be sitting very well with the players and the Toon fans, you know.
It
so
is.
we
sitting well with some other fans and players as well.
You're enjoying it.
We'll see where we are on December the 13th, I suppose, or the day after, I suppose.
Is that when it is?
Ben, yeah, it is. So it's etched in our minds, believe me. Ben, thanks very much indeed.
It's a huge game. Yeah, it's a huge game.
I can't wait.
We really need to get those points on the board.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right. Well, we'll see on Sunday. Ben, thank you.